Well, hello, my lovely. Welcome to my channel if you are a new lovely, and welcome back if you are a returning lovely. And thank you, as always, for all of your love and support and all of your energy exchange. I am so grateful to have you here. I really, really am. Um, and why am I here? I'm here spreading my love and my light, my infinite love and light, and my healing and my story. Um, with the intent of helping beautiful souls like yourself to awaken. And I'm sure if you found me, you're probably already on a really profound awakening and healing journey as it is. And maybe feeling a little lost or misguided. Maybe feeling like you're the black sheep in your family and you don't have anybody around you to support you. Um, Yeah, that's what my tribe is all about, the lovely tribe. Um, Here to inspire and to really let people know that they're not alone on this journey. And it really actually helps me too, because it helps me feel like I'm not so alone. Um, I am very fortunate to have awakened people within my immediate family. Um, Very, very blessed to have that support. My mom being my main supporter. And then of course my bestie that lives in Oregon. But as far as my immediate family, yeah, I'm so very blessed to have somebody that um that is so supportive and also on this journey as well. So um I actually was attempting to post a video on what I'm going to talk about last night, and as I am posting this, it is the day after Valentine's Day, so happy belated extra love day. I do call it the extra love day just because I feel like we should be loving each other unconditionally every day, but showing that love a little bit more on that day. But I mean, if you don't resonate with holidays, it is what it is. Um, I don't really much these days either. It's more like I'm trying to find my own traditions and stuff, give meaning to my own holidays, I guess. Yeah. So, long story short, I had filmed the video on my phone and it cut me off after a certain period of time. And so, like, the last 6 minutes of the video cut to a separate clip, basically. And in my attempt to try and clip them together, the audio on the last 6 minutes of the video was off. And I'm not going to post a video like that because when I rewatch that, drives me crazy. Like not having audio lined up with video just drive me nuts. I'd just be hoping it'd be aligned the whole time I'm watching it. I see that with like other people's videos too. Not that I'm like out there critiquing. It's just it's a personal preference. So it was not working. I tried so hard to make it work. And as I continued to try and force it, I was not listening to myself. I was not listening to my intuition that was telling me like you're not supposed to post this video. And I was getting really frustrated. And after my little ego fit where I was like, I don't understand why my guides would, tell me to do this and guide me to share this content and then make it so I'm not able to post it because I fully believe that when things like that happen, glitches, stuff like that, people will call them coincidences, but I am a firm believer, and I'm sure if you're here vibing with me, you are already fully aware that there's no such thing as a coincidence, only synchronicities. So when things like that happen, especially over and over and over again, very consistently, I tried many different ways to make this work too, and it wasn't working. So I had a little fit. And then very shortly after that, like within probably about 10 to 15 minutes, I discovered like, okay, I'm not supposed to be posting this video. I didn't exactly know why until today. So I got a ton of downloads today, a lot of information, and it was very much pertaining to what I'm going through currently, but also tied into what I was talking about in the video I was trying to post last night. So, essentially, what I wanted to get into was if you had caught my twin flame video in the prior context before I really got into my situation, which I want to get into more detail actually in this video. Um, I was talking about the darkness that I had experienced in my life from a very young age, and how it kind of like patterned my life, and really dictated my life, if you will, and how it actually really dictates everybody's life. So, um, essentially, it really starts with your ancestry and what you absorb in the womb. So there is a newly developed science, and it is called epigenetics. And what that literally means is above genetics. And what it explains and what it describes is that um, you can have trauma. Which is energy. Everything is energy. Even the most solid of things, it's all conscious energy. It's all of the source. Even though you look at that like an inanimate object that has no feelings, it actually is energy that is a part of the source that we are all a part of. So essentially trauma that is experienced from past generations can be passed on. The reason why they call it epigenetics above genetics is because this is not something that can be shown in the DNA. So, example, Dr. Bradley Nelson, he is the author of The Emotion Code. I will link it below. If you are familiar, you'll know what I'm talking about. There was basically this discovery that emotions. So essentially, let me start over. You have an experience which creates a memory in your mind, which has a bodily response, which is an emotion. Um, if you have a negative experience, a traumatic experience, that emotion that you have, which is energy, can get trapped inside your physical body. This can lead to ailments and dis-ease. Actually, all diseases are created by this trapped energy. So essentially, this energy can be passed on generation after generation after generation without actually being seen in the DNA. Dr. Bradley Nelson, he had a seminar, workshop. They have many different names. But he had a lady that had attended, and she was describing how there was chronic hip pain in her family, but not just in her family, specifically on her mother's side of the family. And now, if you're familiar with the divine feminine energy and how it's really been suppressed on the planet, there's been a lot of just a lot of shit really when it comes to the feminine energy and women specifically, a lot of mother wounds and just a lot of trauma specifically on the female line side of the lineage. And so she, like I said, chronic hip pain. She went to go see Dr. Bradley Nelson, and he released all of this trapped energy related to her hip pain. It was gone instantly. And the thing that they were discovering is because this energy is linked, it can be passed on from generation to generation, and it is linked. Once you release it from the person that it is last incarnated with, it releases that energy from the entire lineage. So what's happening with this is not only are you healing yourself physically and emotionally, but you're healing your lineage, which is so beautiful. So basically, when we're born into this world, we're born with a bunch of ancestral trauma, baggage, a lot of the time curses, so much. And pardon me, I need some water. I don't know if it caught that, but it just like flung water. I just flung water past my face. Um, on top of that, when you're in the womb, you're absorbing the energy from your mother. So not only are you getting all the ancestral stuff, you're getting anything that she's experiencing in the current life while she is pregnant with you. So if she's experiencing turmoil, stress, anything, any low vibrational emotion, that is being passed on to you. Now, I don't want to be super duper negative here and be like that, the only thing you're absorbing is that. You're absorbing the positive things too. So all of the love that she's experiencing and the love that she's feeling for you as you're growing inside of her, you're absorbing that stuff too. So we don't come into this world just completely tainted, but tainted nonetheless, I will say. Um, so for me personally, um, I was born into, wow, a very dark lineage, and I know why. I resonate with being a star seed, a light worker, a twin flame. I resonate with a lot of things, but one big thing that I do resonate with is having a big mission. And I've discovered that that big mission involves really helping the collective, myself individually, yes, but helping the collective to awaken and to heal. And I am doing that through um, harnessing life force energy. You may know it as Reiki, and sound healing, and my own form of indigenous medicine, as I do have an indigenous lineage that I'm very, very connected to. If you caught the prior video, I had mentioned, I acknowledge I'm an ancient soul. I've been healing for millennia. I think that's why I know, I feel, not I think. I know and I feel that that's why it comes so naturally to me. And that's, you know, um, you may resonate with that in being a healer as well, or, anything else, whatever else you're feeling like you're called to do here, in this incarnation. But so yeah, so I feel like part of that mission, part of that task involves bringing in a lot of this darkness, bringing in a lot of this low vibrational energy, with the purpose of alchemizing it and transforming, transmuting it. So, and that's something that we learn, when we're really young. We learn in science that energy cannot be created or destroyed. Um, it can only be changed and transformed. And so that's what we're doing here. And I'm not the only one. There are many of us that have tasked ourselves. We've contracted, we've taken on the task of essentially bringing in a lot of this darkness and transmuting it. And this is not just for the collective, this is also for the planet too, because what we're doing is we're healing ourselves individually, where this is having an effect collectively. So we're healing collectively, and then this is helping our planet heal as well. And we're all making this shift into 5D consciousness. And whether you're consciously doing this or not, this is happening to you. So yeah, so basically I know that I brought in all of this darkness, and when I was younger, I was enlightened to an extent. I mean, we all are. We're born into this world with our gifts and our power, and it gets I said tainted, but it gets I think overshadowed by our shadows and the low vibrational energy and the darkness and all the trauma that we're linked to. Um, Yeah, I had a thought and it just went away. But yeah, I don't know where that was trailing off to. Um, but yeah, so we bring this darkness in order to transmute it. And so that's what I was doing. I was very enlightened, and I knew that there was so much more out there. Um but with the very little knowledge I did have, as I mentioned before, I grew up in the Christian Methodist Church. So as you know, I'm sure you know, lots of stories. We're told lots of stories. That's what I was getting at. The indoctrination. So not just the ancestral stuff that we're bringing in. I brought myself back to it. It's not just the ancestral stuff, it's the indoctrination, it's the program that we come into. So we have these gifts, but then they're just clouded by all of this stuff. And we have to work really, really hard to break through that. So, um, from a young age, I always had these questions about things. I had these feelings, but then I was being told these stories. So, with my little knowledge, I kind of felt like the things that I experienced in my younger years, specifically in my bedroom, a lot of darkness. I always felt really heavy, low vibrational energies around me. I would see dark figures in my closet at night. I oftentimes would, hide under my covers because I felt like things were going to get me. And then on top of that, all of the night terrors that I would have, and the things that I would see were just horrifying and horrendous. And that doesn't even, those words don't even encompass really the terror. I mean, they call them night terrors for a reason. Yeah, they were just, I could go into it, I will not. But yeah, they were just really, really freaking terrifying. Things that I have never, to this day, have never witnessed in this life. So it's like, where does that come from, you know? Um, Even psychologists say that you can't create new visions, new images of people, places, things in your mind that you haven't already seen. So it comes from somewhere, right? Like I feel like that statement alone proves reincarnation. But I digress in that. So essentially, yeah, I really felt like with my limited knowledge, like this was demonic spirits or something, something along those lines. And I later discovered in doing all of this healing, all of this emotional healing, that um, it really was just a projection of my inner world because, as above, so below, as without, so within, our outer world is a projection of our inner world. And if my inner world was all of this darkness and this trauma, of course it's going to manifest in my outer world. And so part of the trauma that I was bringing in, part of the low vibrational energy, the trapped emotions that I was taking in wasn't just my lineage and it wasn't just what I was born into, but it was also my home life because you got to think like everybody's going through this. It wasn't just me, everybody's going through this, and then it just creates this web of really just chaos. And just a circulating low vibrational energy. And that's how our planet was vibing for such a long time. So you can see how it would just continue to perpetuate. And you can see how you can backtrack and be like, wow, all this stuff, it just kept cycling and just kept cycling over and over and over again. And then we came into this world and we're like, we're done. We've reached a point where we incarnated in a time where that cycle is over. It's done. And now we're going into a new cycle. Um, so yeah, where do I want to go next with this? Um, how it kind of links into my twin flame journey. Um, so like I said, this darkness, this low vibrational energy, these trapped emotions within you, it kind of perpetuates a cycle. It creates patterns in your life. It creates your behaviors, your characteristics. By the time you hit, usually, I think it's like your 30s, unless you consciously make an effort to change, to be aware of who you are and to change that, you're going to be that person for the rest of your life. And then you die and then you come back and then you do it again. Um, And that's the cycle that we've been programmed into. That we've been imprisoned in, really, because we've been imprisoned in our minds, and that's what's created all of this on top of the programming and everything. So, um, yeah, it's heavy. I'm not even really trying to gather my thoughts. It's just, it's heavy. So, uh, hmm, I need some more water. So this darkness in my life, it almost got to me. I know that it got to me in past lives, and I died at a young age. I know my past life I died at a young age. I'm not going to get into details about it, but I think a lot of it was um, the way that everything was planned in this life was not in the last life. And that's the thing with every single time we do this, and we're trying to work through this trauma and alchemize this darkness, we're going about it different ways. And I fully believe that this time is just completely different. But last time I tried to do it by myself and it got to me. Um, because like I mentioned, there's a lot of that the feminine trauma, the feminine energy, the suppression of the sexuality, the sexual trauma. That has been a thing that has been passed on a lot, and that was something that I know I experienced, and experienced in this life too. Um, so this time, I feel like everything was just orchestrated very differently, better. That's the only word. Um, but I still had to face the darkness. I still had to deal with it. And so it patterned my life and it patterned my choices. And it's 3:33. Oh my goodness, I love it. Um, and it almost got to me. It did. I started to, now that I look back on it, I can see, my choices and everything and how it patterned my choices and the people that came into my life. Because, essentially you've got this trapped energy and of these low vibrational emotions and, of like fear and anger and sadness and jealousy and, all those things. And you are essentially magnetizing those things into your life. So that is how it's creating, essentially patterning your life. And so I was bringing in these types of people via friendships and via romantic relationships. These were also reflective in home life as well, because we're all mirrors of each other. And also, we contract with these people to deal with this karma and to help us work through alchemizing this low vibrational energy. So, I had the relationship where I was cheated on all the time, and I had the friendships where I gave too much. I gave so much, but didn't get that equal energy exchange in return. Whew. I don't know if you guys are relating to this, but as consciousness is ascending, doctors would call it vertigo, but these waves of energy are just hitting so much harder. And I find myself just having to really just sit there and breathe. I've been doing like a lot of belly breathing and everything, which I never did before. And it's just crazy how much oxygen you don't get when you're not belly breathing. It's crazy. But so yeah, so I'm just, bringing in these types of people in my life. So at one point, after my first serious relationship that was traumatic in its own way, I mean, I thought that I was going to spend my life with him as I did with all my relationships. Yes, we do. Um, I experienced not one, but three miscarriages. And that kind of got me to a point in my life where I was like, I guess this is the universe telling me that I'm just not supposed to have babies, which really, really killed me because I really actually aligned for the longest time with marriage, but not so much marriage in the conventional sense, not in the box life sense, but more just in that commitment, that really just getting what you give. And that's funny because, like, I mean, it's not funny. I've always felt that way from a young age. I've also acknowledged, but never acknowledged really, that I always felt like I loved more than I was being loved back. And I never, I don't ever recall making those comments. I mean, I would always say, I love you more. Um, and I would mean it. And when they would say, no, I love you more, I always knew deep down that they didn't. I knew it. But, either way, these things happen for a reason. It's nothing against these people. I still love them dearly and always will. But I just don't feel the same for them anymore. And I acknowledge that they were lessons and they helped me grow. Um, so I did have another relationship. Um, well, actually, yeah, yeah, we'll just get there. So the relationship after my first serious relationship, um, was very abusive. And I didn't discover that it was abusive until a couple of years ago, which actually was what really triggered this huge awakening in me. Um, and I'm not going to go into details with it, but it was it was one of those verbal, like emotionally, mental, emotional, abusive type of relationships. It wasn't physical, which is why most of us that are in that type of abusive relationship don't look at it as being abusive. But it is, it's karmic. And it's because, all of this baggage and it creates the people that we are. And then, you come together and the whole lesson is supposed to be becoming aware and changing it, um, stopping the cycle, basically. And that's what we're here to do. But in order to do that, we have to bring this darkness into our lives. And sometimes it really gets to people and it's really difficult. And I know so many people that are on medications to help with this. And if you got my last video, I was shitting on the pharmaceutical industry, but that's because I've been in it for, like I had said, like 12 years. Um, and I'm gonna be, they're chemicals. It's poison. We're not supposed to be eating and functioning the way that we are. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna beat around the bush. Like, it is what it is. And if you do research and you spend enough time, you're gonna see the same thing if you don't already. So either way, I know a lot of people, personally and not personally, that are on medications. They take medications that sedate them. Um, they self-medicate. I did that. At one point, I self-medicated with Adderall. And if you want to shut yourself off from source and from the divine, take some freaking Adderall. Yeah, I'm gonna act like it wasn't designed that way. Give kitties Adderall when they're really young. You just tell them that they're hyperactive and you tell them that there's something wrong with them and then they can't focus on the programs that you're trying to indoctrinate them into. Sorry. That's a whole other topic. I can't even get into that right now. That's a really big frustration for me, and it was it was working in retail. Now I'm in working with seniors, and that's the opposite side of the spectrum. That's even more depressing. Feeding people a bunch of poison as they slowly die. I don't mean to be so morbid, but this is the reality of it. Um, and you see this a lot in the mental health community. And yes, I speak on that because I have people dear to me that are, diagnosed with mental illness. And I don't feel like mental illness is actually an illness. I think that we are all a product of this, I'm just going to say it, this fucked system. We are. And there are natural ways to get out of it. Um, speaking from experience, I mean, I've always been very much against taking medications. I have before, and like I said, I self-medicated for quite some time. Um, but as far as like, taking medications for pain and stuff like that, like I very much against it. And when I stopped self-medicating, I was very much very, very anti. Um, but like I said, I never really got into taking medications for my depression. I just always kind of dealt with it. And prior to the real start of my very first relationship, like I said, the darkness really got to me. And um, I tried to take my own life, and it was not successful because I'm not supposed to. And I knew there was something in me. I knew that when it was not successful and I was still here, I knew it was for a reason. And then I started thinking back to when I was a child, and I was like, I know, I know there's more to this. I know my ears ringing like crazy right now. I know there's more to this. I know that this life isn't supposed to be this perpetual darkness, perpetual chaos. I knew this as a child. I knew that I was here for something bigger. And I knew at that moment that that bigger something was why I didn't die that day. And it was crazy. I knew. And from that time I knew that it didn't matter how bad my life got. I was never going to feel that way again. And I didn't. I never felt that way. I never tried. It never hit me. Have I been depressed? Have I hit lows? Yeah, I still do. I still hit like these spiritual depressions or whatever. And I think a lot of it is like some days like today I'll just get hit after hit after hit and I'm following my passions. And then sometimes I need a lull. I need a break to rest and to integrate and to recuperate. And because I'm not like go, 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 which is very much I feel like an ego thing, like always wanting to accomplish things. Um, I get this little depression where I'm like, "Ah, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing," when in reality, I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. All right, guys, this is going to be another long video. I appreciate you for hanging in there. So, essentially, I went through a situation where I realized that I was in an abusive relationship. It brought up all this trauma, all of these suppressed emotions, and it led me to emotional healing. In my video before, I'd kind of gotten into details as far as what that looked like, but I'm not going to with this because I really want to tie it more into my current like situation with my twin flame and my twin flame journey and everything. And also, I just want to mention this information does not have to, or you don't have to be on a twin flame journey in order for this information to pertain to you because we are all, like I had mentioned, we're all collectively awakening. So, um, this is, I feel like if you're awakening, you're going to be experiencing stuff like this, regardless of whether you've contracted to meet with a twin flame, like unite with a twin flame, whether you contracted to unite with a divine counterpart, like a soulmate or something, or if you're just on this solo and you're just awakening, regardless, like I said, it's going to pertain to you. So, um, yeah, so I was basically like introduced to emotion code and essentially emotional healing. And um, I was so filled with emotion with when this trauma came up that I was just like, I need to get rid of it. I don't want to feel this way anymore. And I think that's what it was I knew that there was no other solution. There was no solution the pharmaceutical industry could give me. Um, there was no solution that anybody really could give me. A lot of this was, yes, I went to somebody to help facilitate this healing, but ultimately healing, it starts here, guys. I'm just speaking from experience. It really, really does. You're not going to find your answers. And I do this still. I'll go to look for something and I stop myself in my tracks and I'm like, Cat, girl, you are not going to find your answers here. If you want an answer, sit down, meditate, go within, and just ask. My stomach just growled so loud, so I am gonna take that as a confirmation. Oh gosh. So yeah, so I started this healing. What really triggered all of it was I turned 30, and I don't know if you resonate, but sometimes when you turn 30, I think a lot of this has to do with like our Saturn return. So if you're um astrologically what word am I thinking of? I don't know what word I'm thinking of, but if you're familiar with like astrology and Saturn returns and what that means, you know what I'm talking about. Um, but so yeah, I think like when you turn 30, life is really just like, hey, okay, here you go. Like opportunities are really presented to you, but it's like you have to be aware of this. And I think it's really cool. My mom and I are actually, I just want to make this little note. My mom and I are not exactly, but almost exactly 30 years apart. So we kind of like went through our returns at the same time, but I'm sure in like really different ways. So once I turned 30, I just knew something was going to happen. I knew something was going to shift in my life. I just didn't realize it was going to be this. So I went through basically like, it was probably about, I don't know, 5, 6 months after I turned 30. All of this trauma surfaced. I started this healing. So basically, just started on this healing journey. And by the end of the year, um, I ended up kind of like going out of my comfort zone, what this looks like. Well, COVID, I was one of those people that gained a ton of weight, like an uncomfortable amount of weight. Normally I weigh like somewhere between 115 and 125. Um, Usually more in like the 120 to 125 range because I lift weights. Um, so yeah, when I moved to Oregon, I was at like 165 pounds, which was really bad for me. Like that was uncomfortable, and like the most I had weighed since I was a young child. Um, and and like side note on that, I was very overweight as a child because I grew up in a broken home, as society likes to call it. Um, my parents divorced when I was really young, and a lot of that led to me eating my feelings, especially after my dad had moved to Oregon. So, I mean, we still very much still in contact and everything. It wasn't that type of relationship. It's just when people aren't meant to be together anymore, they separate, and unfortunately, the children suffer. And so, but nothing on my dad. I completely understand why everything happened the way that it did. I see how the dominoes fell and everything, and how the pieces fit. So, um, yeah. So either way, um, so yeah, when I moved, I was an uncomfortable weight and gained even more. And so when I moved back, I was really determined to lose all of that weight. Prior to moving, I had started intermittent fasting, so it was like it was coming off very gradually. And then it was like I had changed my diet towards the end of the year, and started eating plant-based. And but at the time, I was not going to the gym that I had gone to before. And so here I am tying in my twin flame. So I was working out at home, and then as I got more comfortable, I was working out of the gym in my apartment. And then as I got more comfortable, I ended up back at the gym that I started out at before I moved. So I ended up getting my membership, and gosh, I want to say it was the first day I was there, but it was within the first week that I was there. I was sitting on a machine, and I happened to look ahead of me. Mm, I still see it now. I'm like, oh my gosh. Um, and I had made eye contact with him, my flame, and who I didn't know was my flame at the time. And it's so crazy. It's so crazy how you start to heal and then these things just happen so quickly right before your eyes and you don't even realize what the hell is happening. So, we made eye contact. At first, I thought that he was one of my exes, my abusive ex, actually. And the second I realized that he wasn't. And then the third second, I was like, oh my gosh, oh no. Because like I had mentioned before in my twin flame video, my soul recognized him. I just I didn't know who he was, or anything. And at the time I was also still, very much in love and in my relationship and everything. And so it was like, you know, I'm in my relationship. Um, I have this attraction, whatever. It's an attraction. And yeah, I'm sensing something else here, but I didn't really think too much of it. I was very much just on my healing path. Um, well, after this happened, gosh, it was literally 3 months. I'm not even kidding, guys. 3 months after that happened, a lot of things surfaced, things that I had shoved down, pieces of me, really, pieces of me that had been fragmented, and things, like I said, that I had suppressed. And I think a lot of that was just because I was mirroring people that were not a true reflection of who I am at my core. So I was trying to convince myself that I wanted these things, with these people. And so it's like the things that I really wanted, I was suppressing. Well, all of these things that I had suppressed and things that I didn't realize were there were coming to the surface. And oddly, one of those things was a sexual thing. It was like I was starting to feel like, well, maybe I want something more open because I have these attractions to people. Like maybe that's what that is. Well, that was a big thing that was not cohesive, in my relationship. And so, long story short, we basically ended up separating. Um, but we had just signed a year lease. So we spent 6 months, um, you know, really good friends, roommates type of situation. So it's like we spent 6 months living in the apartment together, but we were not together. Um, and as I continued on, I started to discover that, oh, okay, it wasn't really so much about this. It's more about like, I haven't spent any time by myself. I don't know who I am to my core. Like I do, but I don't. I need to figure out who I am. And it, oh, wow. So I had mentioned, before, about 8 months, I think it was. But if you didn't catch my video, it was about 8 months, um, after coming in contact with my flame that I actually talked to him. And it felt very divinely guided. In the video I was going to post last night, I kind of went into details about it, but pretty much long story short, I felt like he had followed me. We were at the gym. I felt like he had kind of followed me upstairs to do cardio. Why do I say that I felt like he followed me? Because I never see this man do cardio. That's the only reason why. And in this whole, encounter, I was going to go downstairs. Well, I did go downstairs, forgot something upstairs, which is kind of uncharacteristic. I don't really forget things. Um, Went back upstairs and I realized instantly that this was a moment where I needed to make contact with him. So I was going to go downstairs again and like ignore my intuition. And I stopped and I pivoted and I walked over to him and was just kind of like, okay, so do I ever get to know like what your name is? And so we like introduced each other and kind of just, I don't know, expressed that we had noticed each other. And then from there, there was about, 4 to 6 weeks where we were in contact with each other, at the gym and like talked and we were flirting with each other. And I guess in so many words, we were just kind of expressing how, we just wanted to do each other. It's gonna be real. That's pretty much how it was. And unfortunately for some other twin flames, they come together sexually, and it's a very explosive ending. Some people date for a few weeks. I was very fortunate that we literally just shook hands. But even after that, it was still the whole separation thing that you go through is still it's still really painful, and it sounds kind of crazy to people that don't understand where we're coming from here because you're like, oh, there's this person in the 3D that I don't know. I don't know really anything about them, but I feel this crazy intense love, and that's coming from you, um, really starting to know yourself and love yourself, which is why you can look at this person. And this wouldn't happen if you weren't already on this journey of self love and self discovery. Just throwing that out there. You would not come into contact with your twin flame if you weren't ready. But the reason why you're able to look at this person that you don't know in the 3D and be like, oh my God, I love you. Why do I love you? I feel so crazy. And that's what makes you feel so crazy, because your ego's like, oh no, you need to know somebody. You need to know all these details about them. You need to know this, this, and this before you can feel this love. Like, no, that's not true. That's not true at all. Living proof, not true. Thousands of twin flames out there going through the same thing. Living proof, not true. But like I said, that's because you're loving yourself, right? So, I was introduced during this time. Wait, when did it happen? I want to say it was either during this bubble phase or right after. I was introduced to tarot readings on YouTube. I didn't even know this was a thing. I mean, as you guys can see my oracle deck in the back, I have a ton of oracle decks now, and like I use my pendulums. I've always really been drawn to crystals and stuff and the energies of crystals, but not so much into tarot or oracle decks. Um, so I definitely didn't know anything about tarot readings on YouTube. So I started doing that. I was introduced to my Vedic my Vedic astrology signs, not my Western. If you guys don't know or you're not familiar with that, look up your your Vedic, not your Western. Your Western, it's another one of those monkey traps. Tells you who you are and that there's nothing you can do about it. Follow your Vedic. It's legit. Trust me. Um, you'll make more sense. So, and your readings, if you listen to tarot readings on YouTube, your readings will make more sense too. Unless you happen to be one of those people where your Western signs and your Vedic are the same, which I know I'm pretty sure that that can be a thing, but it's really rare. Um, so anywho, um, was listening to the readings. Long story short, it got a little obsessive. And I reached a point on this TF journey where I had to start reflecting. As I had mentioned in my prior video, I was really pushed to um, follow this one channel that was really exposing what the journey really is all about. And essentially, it's not about this 3D relationship, which we've all been basically told to believe that's what it is. So that's what we've been chasing, is a relationship, essentially, because we're all hopeless romantics. Don't deny it. We love so much. Um, but yeah, so coming back. Um, I had to stop listening to the readings because I was going crazy. Came to the videos, lots of epiphanies, lots of downloads, lots of realizations, self-actualization. And these things, they can't be taught. Your truth is not something that can be taught. It's something that you can only discover within your heart. That is your truth. So yeah. So we reached a phase where we weren't really in contact. And eventually we talked. So not a lot of people get this clarity. Unfortunately, a lot of people are just ghosted by their flame. Um, we go to the same gym. So unless the universe was like, no, you absolutely need no contact with this person, um, that wasn't gonna happen. But at least not for me. And like I said, everybody's situation is going to be vastly different depending on who you are as a core soul, which is also going to determine how you interact with your flame. That's what I've discovered just from my own experience, my friend, and other people's. So we had talked, and I basically got clarity on the situation as far as like what happened and why after this 4 to 6 week bubble there was this separation. Hindsight, I know now, and bigger picture, I know now what it's all about. It's all about the awakening, right? We've talked about this. Um, so yeah, it's all about the awakening, but um from the 3D perspective, there are still things that are going on. Um, Things are still being orchestrated in a specific way. So, um, basically what I was told was he, essentially has family and he's trying to make that dynamic work. And I was completely understanding. But at the same time, even though we already knew and recognized that I'm sure he felt and feels like there's something deeper, but there was this undeniable sexual attraction. So, regardless of the underlying feelings, because of this sexual attraction, there was still that desire to maybe perhaps continue something on the side. And I made it very clear, as I value myself very deeply, very much then, even freaking more so now. Um, I'm not a side piece. I'm not a side act. I am the main event. I'm just going to be real with you. I love myself so deeply that I know that. Um, I also knew that this was a part of the separation, but I appreciated that the universe allowed me that clarity. So my ego wasn't like, oh my God, I wonder what's going on. Even though I already knew what was going on because I had given him my number. He had never reached out to me. Um, he even asked me if I lived alone, which I told him no. Like, I live with my mom. Like, I just moved back in with my mom, trying to save money, yada, yada, whatever. I didn't express that part, but, yeah, I live with my mom. And then he just kind of was just like, oh, well, it's okay. I'll still, basically, we'll still like make it happen kind of a thing. Um, and then, that never happened. But those two things to me just scream like you're not single. And this was prior to me getting this clarity. So I'm glad that I got the clarity, even though I knew that I had basically a road ahead of me, shit that I was going to have to go through and a lot of stuff that I was going to have to work through. And that's what I've been doing. Very much following guidance. I do still listen to some readings. They're more collective readings, more channeled readings, channeled messages. But it's more just I'm listening to what I'm intuitively guided to listen to. And that's another thing. Really um, tap into your guides, tap into your higher self, find out ways that you can communicate best. For me, I am very adamant with my loving spirit team about having clear communication. And that's not just my spirit team, that's in the 3D too. I'm really, really big on communication. I may be psychic as fuck and I may be able to read your mind. However, I can only hope that you don't expect me to. Really. I'm really, really big on communication. So I have vocalized out loud to my spirit team, like, if you're going to communicate with me through readings, like, just because I don't want all of this mushy gushy stuff where it's telling me it's coming, like, I know it's coming. Tell me what I need to know. Tell me about my life path. Tell me about the next step that I need to take. And please communicate very clearly with me. If it's going to be a reading, give me the whole reading. And like today, I had one, it was just, oh my gosh, so mind blowing. I wish I could go into it, but it was like an hour or something. And it's a pick a card reading. And it's so rare for me to look and just be drawn to one card. So when that happens, I'm like, this whole reading's for me. This whole message is for me. And today it was. Um, but so like that's a way to communicate for me. Also, my pendulum. Um, and I discovered that what's happening with the pendulum is it's not even so much the pendulum that is communicating with you. Yes, like, that is so funny. There's just a pop-up on YouTube from the person who did the reading that I just listened to today. That's hilarious. Um, so yeah, so the crystal, the pendulum, it holds energy, um, but it is not communicating with you. It is a tool that is it's being communicated through, if you will. I think that's the best way to explain it. So the way I picture it is you're getting this download of information, and it's coming through your energy centers, and it's communicating, sending this energy through your arm, and then it's making it move. So when I'm asking it, what is my positive? What is my positive? When I want a yes answer, what direction do you move? So it moves clockwise. And that's how it responds. It's all energy. You can see I'm not moving it. Um, I mean, I don't know how it appears on the video, but that's how that's how it's communicating. That's my higher self sending energy through me and communicating through a pendulum using also my energy in my hand. So it's all energy. It's really, really beautiful. But yeah, in so many words, just find ways to communicate and to follow your intuition, follow your passions, follow things that are exciting you. And this was a message that I got today. I'm looking down at my notes still. Um, this was a message I got today, was to follow your desires. So even the smallest example, when you're scrolling through looking for an item of clothing or something, and you see just a piece of clothing that screams at you, you're just like, oh my God, I have to have that. I love that so much. Or a car, or, anything, even really big picture things. You are desiring those things because one, you already have that on a timeline, on another timeline. And two, it's because your higher self, the universe, is communicating with you and letting you know that, like, that's a reality. That is your future reality. And that's what manifestation is all about. It's about seeing it in your mind and it's physically becoming a reality in front of your eyes. And that all comes from feeling it and being in that. And yeah, I don't want to get too off track with manifesting. Um, but yeah, really just follow your intuition and your passions and everything. That t-shirt or whatever, that item of clothing or whatever it is that um was really speaking to you, that you feel so passionate about, that's for you. Plenty of people would scroll past it. That's not for them. Clearly, that's for you. So follow that. And I'm preaching to my choir here. Um, so yeah, let me see. I don't know if there's anything else. Big note. Yeah, this one was really important. We're on an accelerated timeline. Emotions are really, really heightened. So we're feeling things really, really intensely right now. So don't deny how you're feeling. And this kind of goes back to the whole, twin flame thing. Specifically, if you're feeling crazy about how you're feeling about your flame, don't deny your feelings. And on the other side of the token, masculines, if you are feeling super duper intensely about your feminines and you're struggling with communicating or something, like, express yourself in some way. Um, but don't beat around the bush. Just know that you're in a safe space, and you wouldn't be drawn to your feminines if your feminines weren't healed. And you got to know that, just collectively, the reason why this is happening, the reason why you're falling so deeply in love, is because feminines, you're falling so deeply in love with yourself. Speaking from experience, I am so freaking in love with myself. It's insane. And then I look at my twin and I'm like, oh my, mm, you're perfect. You're perfect. Blinders on, dude. Nobody else. That's just how it is. And I'm not going to deny those feelings anymore. For a while there, I was feeling a little crazy, and my ego was really wanting to make me doubt. Um, but yeah, no, no more, no more. Uh, yeah, really get to know yourself. If you're still struggling, with feeling this darkness and everything. And like I said, regardless of whether you're resonating with a twin flame journey, meeting with a soulmate, or you're on this solo, if you're really struggling with that darkness, I know, as much as it sucks, go inward. And also, there are people all around, healers all around, that can offer you um, different different ways of healing, like I was saying, sound healing, Reiki, all sorts of things. I'm really feeling inspired to, excuse me, I guess confirmation. Put some stuff on my channel as far as that is concerned, to really help with those that maybe can't afford these services, because it's expensive. Emotional healing is expensive too. So yeah, but really get to know you. Go deep, go in, find you, and know that you're so divinely guided and loved, as I always say. And pay attention to the synchronicities. Definitely do that. They're flooding in like crazy. So yeah, I think I'm gonna leave that there. As always, love, light, and blessings, and I love you guys so, so much. Also, if you have not joined our lovely tribe and you would like to, please do. And if not, I am just so grateful that you are here for this message, and I hope that it has helped you in some way. So, have a lovely day, and you take care.